Hey y'all, and welcome to Stivers Homestead. I'm Zach, and today I wanted to give you all, I guess basically kind of a life update. We had a couple little scares happen, and I wanted to inform you on those and just kind of explain, if you might notice, why we missed Monday's video, because it was kind of a hectic week already and it's only Wednesday. But I think now everything's in a good spot. It was just some hoops to get through before we got there. So it started off on Sunday. So Monday was my birthday. I turned 34, and so my mom came down this past weekend, and we just kind of hung out, had a nice little weekend, chilling, and just celebrating, per se. Well, Jen had an appointment set up for Monday in Richmond, Kentucky, which is about an hour and a half from us. It was a dermatologist appointment. It was something that she had a spot that appeared several years back. She always wore kind of one style bathing suit, and then she had gotten a new one year, and it was cut differently, and so it exposed skin that hadn't normally been exposed when wearing bathing suits. It was just kind of a different style cut. Well, we all noticed after that day that she got severely burnt in that spot. So the burn and all that was taken care of, but then we realized like a spot had popped up after that, and unfortunately it had been growing. So we just kind of sitting on it, seeing how it was going to do, what it did. And it was getting to the point where she's like, I want to go get this checked out. It might be, a little bit of skin cancer or something like that. So let's go get it checked out. Let's get it sliced off. So as the weekend's coming in, we already have this set. We know that we're going to be going up to Richmond on Sunday night and staying the night because the appointment was at 8 a.m. And that was going to be a lot better than having to wake up at like 5 o'clock on Monday morning to get up there. So we're going to go stay overnight in Richmond, wake up, and then get to the doctor's appointment and hope for the best, and then hang out and come back home. Well, Sunday morning popped up. We all wake up Sunday morning. Mom's planning on heading back home after the weekend, and then RayLynn is complaining of a headache. And nothing too crazy. At first, she tries to eat a little breakfast, but then she doesn't want to do that because it's hurting so bad. And then it seemed to get worse and worse. And I was trying to rush around and get a few things. I needed to get a couple bags of feed because we were out, and just getting some stuff taken care of before we headed out up to Richmond. Well, I'm up here doing feed, and Jen's like, I need you in here. So I go down to the house, and she's just holding RayLynn, and RayLynn's just bawling her eyes out and just complaining about the pain in her head. Now, RayLynn is pretty pain tolerant, and what I mean by that, like, colds don't take her down, she can get through, it seems like, about any sickness, but nothing truly takes her down. And she hasn't really complained of headaches ever in the past, but she does have a stigma, I think is the right thing, in her eye. We found it out when she was really young, just by kind of pure luck, I guess. But sometimes that messes with her, if she has too much screen time, things like that. And so at first, that's all we scratched it up was she just had too much screen time or something, got a headache. But that little girl was in so much pain that it had both Jen and I very worried, worried that it might be something more serious. And that was scary. It's when your children are involved, everything gets a little bit scarier because you want them to be healthy. You don't want them to be sick. And as a parent's mind, it always goes to the worst it possibly could be. And so we decided that we was going to take her to the ER because it's Sunday, no doctor's offices are open. It wasn't a true emergency, but it kind of felt like an emergency. So we went to our local hospital, which, by the way, shout out to ARH Hospital. Kind of the stigma that you think of small town hospitals, like you don't want to really get much care from those, but this place was awesome. They were so nice, so respectful, and just very compassionate. And so shout out to them first off, and the whole staff. They were very cool. So we get in there, and the nurse is asking her some questions and checking her out, and then the doctor comes in, and he wants to do kind of some tests just to kind of see if her cognitive skills, her hand-eye coordination, how that looks, touch nose, touch finger, walk straight line kind of thing. I told her, you just did a DUI test. I was like, make sure that you never drink and drive when you get older. Just kidding with her, but it was funny kind of watching that. And he was checking everything out, and they wanted to do some blood work. They wanted to give her an IV just to make sure if she was dehydrated, if that was the cause, so just get her some fluids in her, and then just check the blood work to make sure nothing more serious was going on. So to not drag this on too much. They gave her some Motrin, which was fine, just to kind of relieve some of the pain and inflammation that may be in there that's causing the headache. And then getting that IV in her. The nurses were fantastic. Thankfully, RayLynn has pretty good veins, so they were able to find it easily, but that little girl hates needles. I mean, she is not a fan of needles, and as you all know, we don't do any shots around here at all. So she's not used to getting pricked. However, they did great. She did great. She kicked everything off the bed, though, when they put it in there. That was kind of wild. But they got her fluids in her. She started feeling a little bit better, and she started becoming back to her normal self. Well, after all the results came back in, it does look like it had a lot to do with her eyes. And then she had just a little bitty piece of UTI looking like it was forming. So got some antibiotics for that, got it cleared up. But then we wanted to make sure that her eyes hadn't changed because she hadn't been to the eye doctor in a little bit. So that's coming. But RayLynn is good now and healthy, but that was a scary Sunday. So we had already planned to be in Richmond and settled in by the time we're just now leaving the hospital. And Jen and I are kind of just looking at each other and talking like, I guess we should still go because we still don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. and try to get the kids, because it would be all of us, the kids and all of us going up there on Monday morning. So we end up still going to Richmond, and that night actually ended up turning out to be really awesome. RayLynn was feeling better, and then that's actually where Jen and I went to school at. Well, Jen went to 2 different colleges. That's the one she ended at. So we was able to take the kids around our old stomping grounds, see some of the old places that we lived, and relive some of those college stories. So that was kind of fun. And like, we lived there. But that was fun. We had a nice night. And then, of course, the next morning comes. So the stress of what's going on with Jen. She didn't feel bad or anything, but is this nothing or is it something? And so we were all kind of a little stressed out Monday morning on my birthday. So we had to be there at 8 a.m. So I drop her off there, me and the kids. We're just kind of roaming around, killing some time, trying not to think about what's going on in the office. But I mean, we were fully expecting, and Jen included, that they were going to cut it off and then check any other spots on her and then send it off to see if there's something on there. So we weren't expecting like to know really news, but we just knew we assumed everything was going to get cut off at least that day. So I'm driving around. I was showing them some other stuff that we didn't get a chance to see the night before, talking to them about college and different things like that, because it is something that I want them to know as an option. Whether I want them to do it or not, that's not my choice, but I just want them to know what's out there and kind of that stuff. So anyways, it's like 8:30 and her appointment was at 8, and I was expecting at least like an hour and a half, 2 hours for this situation. She calls me. She's like, I'm done. What? What do you mean you're done? I was like, well, I'm downtown, so give me a little bit and I'll get back there. But in my head, I'm like, well, 30 minutes. Couldn't be nothing too bad, right? Or it was, they knew exactly what it was, and it is bad. And so there's follow-ups and all this other stuff's going on. So my mind's like going nuts in the 5 minutes that it takes to get from downtown to where she was for her appointment. So I get it, we pull up, she's waiting outside and she's smiling. I was like, well, that's good news. So she gets in and she tells me that it's nothing. And it didn't even need to be cut off. I was like, that is just amazing. Thank everything. Thank the Lord. That's great news. Because, you know, not trying to downplay any cancers, but, you know, we was like, it's skin cancer, you know, even if it is, that's very treatable. They can get that stuff out usually as long as it hasn't spread. So like, we wasn't like over the top worried, but you just never want it to happen. But the spot looked really ugly. But what it was just blood vessels that had came to the surface. It's something that is genetic, apparently. We're learning these things, as from the doctor said. And funny enough, Jed has one too, after we had discussed this. But the reason Jen's looked different was because it was basically like feeding, and like multiple of them, multiple blood cells that were there. So it was pumped up. It had texture to it. You know, it wasn't just like a little bitty red dot that you might see, which is what you would think of when a blood vessel comes to the surface. But it's just that one in that spot was just looking angry. And, you know, like they always tell you when you're growing up, if you see one that looks angry, it might be one that you need to get checked out. But she didn't have to get sliced. And the doctor told her that, you know, it causes zero harm unless it's bothering her. It doesn't need to be cut off. So Joan's like, no, don't cut it off. That's fine. It doesn't bother her any, as long as it isn't bothering her body in any form or fashion, just leave it there. So that was fantastic. We were so happy that scare was out. It was like a very big sigh of relief to know that everything is okay there. So we trek ourselves back home on Monday, feeling great. It is my birthday. I'm like, what a birthday present. That's awesome that Jen is fine. I get back home, have a nice Monday night. And then Tuesday came around and was like, all right, we need to get RayLynn to the eye doctor. So we go to we do Walmart eye doctors. Y'all know that we're self-employed now, and I'll have another video at some other time about health insurance. However, wow, Daisy. Walmart eye doctors, they're just cheaper with or without insurance. It's pretty fantastic. So we ran over there. Me and Wyatt did, a little brief grocery shopping while they got her eyes checked out, and it's astigmatism is what she has, and it had changed very slightly in her eyes. And so according to Jen, what the eye doctor said, though, even a slight change in astigmatism is a big change when it comes to what it can do to like your head and your eyes and stuff like that. So, kind of glad everything worked out the way it did, because they got us into getting RayLynn into the eye doctor. She got some new glasses fitted, and we're just waiting on those to come back. So, two scary issues coming into the weekend and early this week. By Wednesday, both being solved makes me just so happy. So happy knowing that there is resolution to both things that came up. It's not something that normally happens that quick. It feels like whenever it's like, what's wrong with me? It's usually it's solved in just a few days. But the primary point of this is, I've had a lot of videos talking about doctors and hospitals and stuff like that, trying to pump things into you. This is the vulnerable side of saying, I do say that, and I do believe behind that, but there are still stuff that you can go get checked out on. There are still good doctors that are out there that are wanting to help you and wanting to actually just solve the problem. And so one of the key things I said in that video specifically is, don't stop going, but find the ones that you want to go to, the ones that you can trust, because there still are doctors that you can trust out there. And then of course, nurses are great as well. But there's always those that you can trust that are out there. So I'm very thankful that we have people around us that we, can trust for basic health needs, and know that they're not just going to push medicine down our children's throat or our throats or stuff like that. They'll give you the honest thing. And a lot of that ain't gonna lie to y'all is around the insurance situation, it seems like, because there's not a bunch of things to charge. It's here's the money for the service and we're moving on. But that's where we've been. That's what our week has been like. It's been kind of nuts. Today, I think we're going to try to get this corn shucked. We're going to try to get the garden harvested. We're trying to get more tinctures bottled up because they're ready to be bottled up. Thank you all for all your orders. We're getting them as soon as we can. Usually it's just about a 1 or 2 day turnaround, which is what we always try to do, even through all the chaos that's going on. Wow, fly just bit me. It's that time of year when I'm out here in the cow barn. It's not as enjoyable anymore because there's flies. Wowzers. That is a cat fight between Jill and Meanie. That's going well. Anyways, this barn's getting crazy. It's time for me to shut this down. I hope you all have a great day. I hope you have a great week. I hope your gardens are flourishing. I hope your animals are thriving. And I hope that pantry is getting stocked every single day with more and more items being preserved. If you're new around here, hit that subscribe button. We love y'all. And until the next one, bye.